Thank you very much, Lene and Ruud. And may I now ask Klaus Haupt from the EACEA, where he is head of unit of the Tempus and Bilateral cooperation with industrialized countries. Klaus, you will also give the introductory remarks on behalf of the higher education reform experts, I suppose. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Dear Vice Rector, dear Professor Mettinger, dear Chris, distinguished conference participants and experts, dear colleagues from the European Commission, it is also my pleasure to welcome you to this international conference that once more gathers the Bologna experts from the countries that are participating in the EU's lifelong learning program and the higher education reform experts covered by the Tempus program from the Tempus partner countries in the Western Balkans, the Southern Mediterranean, Eastern Europe and Central Asia. As it was mentioned, I'm representing here the Executive Agency for Education, Audiovisual and Culture, and we have been tasked by the European Commission to implement the Tempus program, and it is together with our colleagues from the Directorate General for Education and Culture that we are organizing this important international event. My particular thanks, obviously, go to the University of Oslo and to the Vice Rector of the University for hosting the event in these beautiful premises and for making all this possible here today. I would also like to express, obviously, my deep gratitude to the UNICA network that has been doing really a great job over the past years in facilitating and in supporting the cooperation among the higher education reform experts in the European Union and the Tempus partner countries. The conference here in Oslo is, I think, the fourth international event that we have been organizing since the beginning of 2010. There have been events last year in Cyprus and in Estonia. We have just had in March this year a conference on learning mobility in Brussels. And I think the topic of this conference here in Oslo has been once more particularly well chosen. I think the modernization of curricula is definitely at the heart of the EU's higher education modernization agenda. It is strongly related to the Bologna process, and it is certainly, from my point of view, very high on the agenda, on the political reform agenda of the 27 Tempus partner countries. The modernization and the reform of curricula has always been and continues certainly to be one of the priority issues under the Tempus program, and I would certainly estimate that since the inception of Tempus in 1990, more than 50% of the funded projects have really been in the area of curriculum reform and curriculum development. The number of participating countries in the room today, I think Lene mentioned this already, is once more impressive. We are looking at 50 countries that are represented here today. And once more, from the Tempus side, it is certainly very important that this event is organized as a common conference, as a common seminar with the Bologna experts from the Lifelong Learning Program and the countries that are participating in Tempus. I'm very pleased also to see that there are many Tempus experts that have made their way to Oslo. I think there must be around 40 Tempus experts from 22 of the Tempus partner countries being represented here in the room. And I'm also very glad to see, looking at the agenda, at the program of the conference, that the Tempus experts are taking a more and more active role in these seminars. You are contributing now in the keynote speeches. The Tempus experts are contributing in the workshops, doing presentations. I'm really glad to see that you are getting more and more active in these international conferences. The activities of the Tempus Higher Education Reform experts, as we call them, are indeed very impressive. I think that Lene and Ruud have given a very good overview of all the activities that you are expected to do at the national level and that you are indeed doing at the national level. We will be discussing on Wednesday morning an activity report that we have established for the Tempus experts' activities in 2010, and you will see that this activity report evolves around 3 fields, and I think that Ruud has been mentioning these fields in a very explicit way: advice, promotion, and policy input. And I think this is exactly along those lines that the Tempus experts in the partner countries are working as well. So advice, giving training to peers at the national level, promoting reform and promoting modernization and giving their input to national policy making. Ladies and gentlemen, 2010 and 2011 are very particular years for the Tempus program. Tempus is celebrating this year and has been celebrating last year 20 years of its existence. It was created, established back in 1990 after the fall of the Iron Curtain, and it was established at that time and conceived as a tool that was really dedicated to assisting the partner countries at that time in Central and Eastern Europe in their modernization and in their transformation process. And with this, Tempus is almost as old as the Erasmus program, and it is definitely an instrument that has had a huge impact in supporting the reform of higher education since the beginning of the 90s in all the Tempus partner countries. We have had at the beginning of this year, at the end of March, a very big conference involving university stakeholders and involving also ministries of education from the EU member states and also from the Tempus partner countries that took place in Belgrade, in Serbia. And during this conference, we really looked at the impact that the program has had at the various levels, at the regional level, at the national level, at the level of the individual universities, and at the level of faculties over the last 20 years. The newest phase, the last phase of Tempus, ranges from 2007 to 2013, and we have tried to give to Tempus under this phase a more strategic, a more policy-oriented dimension, and one very visible and one very significant sign of this new approach of giving a more strategic dimension, an even more strategic dimension to Tempus, are definitely the higher education teams, the higher education reform expert teams that have been set up in all the Tempus partner countries since 2007, based on the very positive experience that has been gained by the Bologna experts in the EU member states. And one very important characteristic of these national teams of reform experts is that they are strongly supported by the ministries of education in the partner countries and that they're working in a very close relationship with them. Now, what are the perspectives for this type of activity for the period to come, for the period 2012 and 2013? I think that Lene has already mentioned that we definitely intend from our side as well, from the Tempus side, to extend the contract that we have with the UNICA network and to extend the activities of the higher education reform experts until the end of 2013. I think we have put in place very good instruments, tools and mechanisms. We are organizing international conferences. We are organizing regional training seminars for the benefit of the higher education reform experts. And we are also thinking of a new facility that we will be making available to the Tempus experts, which are study visits to particular universities, to particularly innovative universities in the EU member states. So our role, my role, and the role of my colleague Jacques, who is sitting over there, will be over the next 2 days to listen very carefully to you, to listen to ideas, to concerns that you may have, because it is indeed now that we are conceiving and that we are designing, maybe redesigning our support activities for the next 2 years to come. I'm sure that all of you will come up over the next 2 days with a lot of ideas for future initiatives, activities, and projects. And I'm actually very glad at the beginning of this conference to give a piece of good news to you at during my welcome address. As you know, the Tempus program is implemented mainly through annual calls for proposals that we are launching each year in October, where universities, in line with the bottom-up character of the program, can apply with their own projects. And I'm actually very pleased to say that for the last 3 years, under the current financial perspectives, so until 2013, 2014, the budget allocations for the Tempus program will increase significantly. Over the past months, the European Commission has been engaged in reviewing the European neighbourhood policy, and one of the most tangible, I would say, results of this review is that indeed the budget for Tempus and also for the Erasmus Mundus programs will increase considerably over the next 3 years. And I think that Tempus, once more, and as it has already been the case at the beginning of the 90s, when the program was set up, has been identified as an instrument and as a program that can indeed provide a major contribution in assisting the transition process that is occurring at this point in time, notably in the southern Mediterranean area. But the increased support being made available under Tempus is not only limited to the countries in the eastern and the southern neighborhood, but it also concerns Central Asia and the Western Balkans. To make it a bit more concrete, let me quote some figures. We expect to see the budget for the eastern neighborhood countries, so for Eastern Europe and the Caucasus countries, to increase from currently 12 million to 24, so that is doubling the budget. We have a specific bilateral allocation for Russia that will increase from 5 million to 9 million, and the budget for the southern neighborhood will also increase, will be doubled in a sense from 12 to 24 million for the next 3 years. And for the Western Balkans, we will remain at a very high level of 14 million euros per call, and we will also remain at the level of 10 million euros that we will allocate to Central Asia. And I think that these are very positive signs at a time where public budgets, where public spending in the higher education area, in the education sector in general, and at large have the tendency to be reduced rather to be increased. I think it is a very positive sign that the European Union has really taken the decision to double the Tempus budget over the next 3 years. So I think that the perspectives until 2014, until summer 2014, are definitely very positive. And what lies beyond that, it is obviously a question which is very much occupying our current thinking. The Commission is once more engaged in redesigning, reconceiving the instruments beyond the current financial perspectives, beyond the year 2014, looking at an horizon until 2020. And in this framework, the European Commission is also reflecting on how the future internal and external education and training programs should look like. The discussions are ongoing on the architecture of the future program, and I think there is a clear tendency, at least for the internal programs, to go towards having one single and one comprehensive instrument internally. The place of the external cooperation instruments, so the place that, for example, the Tempus program will have, must yet be decided, so there is no firm decision that would have been taken on that. But the very positive news is that 3 things, according to what we hear from the European Commission, are definitely clear. And one is that Tempus-like activities, so the activities that we are carrying out under Tempus, will definitely continue also in the future, independently what the overall and the global architecture of the programs will look like. The second thing is that these external cooperation programs, such as Tempus and also part of Erasmus Mundus, will definitely continue to be considered as a priority by the European Commission. And the third thing that seems to be safe is that within the external cooperation activities that the European Commission is running, that the neighbouring and the neighbourhood countries in the east and in the south will continue to constitute a priority area for the European Commission. So to say it again, I mean, the question of the overall architecture of where the external program would exactly go, it is still open, but definitely the political commitment is there to continue Tempus-like activities in the future as well, and we just need to figure out in Brussels what the future place of these activities should be. All these, ladies and gentlemen and experts, I think are definitely very good news. So I think the perspectives in the medium term until 2014, but also beyond until 2020, are definitely very favourable. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude my welcome address and would like to wish all of you and all of us a very successful and fruitful conference. Thank you.